Well, thank you once again for joining us. Now, tonight, we'll turn our attention to Ghana's evolving tax landscape, where the Ghana Revenue Authority, the GRA's new VAT regime, I'm talking about the value-added tax, continues to generate intense debate among policymakers and traders alike. Now, while the government insists the reforms are aimed at improving compliance and streamlining the system, sections of the trading community argue that the changes could increase the operational burden and even affect pricing. Well, we'll be speaking to tax analyst and economist Julius Jima to break down what this new VAT structure really means, and would also examine the concerns that GUTA, that's the Ghana Union of Traders Association, is raising, and also assess the broader implications for revenue mobilization and business confidence. We'll also bring you a new segment on Bullet Business. We call it the Entrepreneur's Corner, where we bring you the stories of some of our local brands and startups and tell you how they came into being. But before we do all that, let's bring you the latest updates from around the world, the commodities and foreign exchange markets.
Dozens of fortune seekers have flocked to an informal settlement in Springs, some 50 kilometers east of Johannesburg in South Africa, scoring the debt for gold. It all started about a week ago when a man digging a fence post at this cattle kraal outside of the city claimed to have found gold. The news spread like wildfire on social media, and within days the field was crowded with many hopeful prospectors digging holes in the ground. With unemployment hovering at around 32%, even improbable rumors of easy money have been enough to trigger a gold rush mentality, and Springs was a major gold mining town until the late 1960s, with gold prices surging past 5,000 US dollars an ounce. The hope of finding even a small amount of the precious metal outweighed the illegalities of the diggers' action. The price of gold has been on the rise in both local and international markets, a trend that analysts attribute to currency volatility and geopolitical tensions. According to analysts, the trend can also be explained by worries over U.S. government debt and political interference in monetary policy. As a result, some traders in Morocco are having difficulty selling the product. The yellow metal is viewed as a safe haven asset during times of economic instability. As traders up their prices, consumers are feeling the effects. Financial experts have warned individuals to stay up to date about market trends before investing in gold and to invest with caution. Libya granted several foreign companies new oil exploration and production license for the first time in 17 years on Wednesday, after more than a decade of political instability. The hydrocarbon-rich country is seeking to draw major global energy companies back, while boosting daily oil production by 850,000 barrels over the next 25 years. The winners of the latest bidding round included U.S. oil giants Chevron and Nigeria's A2. Consortiums of Spain's Repsol with British Petroleum, Repsol with Hungary's MOL Group, and Eni North Africa with Qatar Energy were also granted license. This marked a return of trust and resuming institutional work in one of the country's most important sectors after a long time of pause and challenges. Heading to the National Oil Corporation, Masoud Suleiman said during the announcement ceremony.
Well, welcome back to the studios. Now let's talk about issues that are affecting Ghana. And today our guest is Julius Jima, who is a tax analyst and economist with extensive experience in fiscal policy, revenue administration, and private sector taxation. Now he's advised businesses on compliance and tax planning, closely follows developments within the GRA. And tonight he joins us to unpack the rationale behind the new VAT regime and also respond to some concerns that have been raised by trade associations, particularly GUTA. Julius Jima, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you for having me, Karen.
So, first of all, help us to unpack this new VAT regime by the GRA. Why all this fuss? What exactly is it about?
Okay, good evening, Karen, US. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Julius. Kindly go on.
All right. So, if we go back to the manifesto of the NDC, a little bit of history. That is where the current finance minister was talking about the fact that we needed to, kind of reform the VAT administration, the entire VAT administration in the country. And what it means is that the current VAT law that we use or we have been using over the past some 12 years ago, which is the Value Added Tax Act 2013 Act 870, has seen some of an amendment over the years, and therefore it has become very cumbersome and complicated for taxpayers, especially the business community, to be able to, comply and then even, file their returns and pay. And even the administrator, which is the GRA, having difficulty in enforcement. So it calls for a review, it calls for a total reform of the current VAT law. Fast forward to when the minister came into power. In his first budget presentation, he indicated that they are together with the International, Fiscal Association of the IMF, or the Fiscal Department of the IMF. They are looking at the VAT systems, and therefore by the end of the year, which is last year, we would get a new VAT law, which will come to repeal the existing VAT law that we have in the system, which is the Value Added Act 2013 Act 870. So thankfully, in the November 2025, budget presentation for 2026, we did indicate that we are going to get a new VAT law. And the new VAT law in the system now is the VAT Act 2025 Act 1151, which have come to repeal the existing or the current VAT law, which is the Value Added Tax 2013 Act 870. The whole issue is the charge, the rate of tax, and then how business communities will be able to, somehow comply and then make sure that the VAT is very simplified, is flexible. People can actually determine the rate of tax that they have to pay and then file their returns and pay to the GRA. That is the most important thing. We understand, or we know, that the VAT in itself is a consumption tax. So once you consume goods and services in the country, then you are supposed to pay. That is the VAT law. Now, businesses have been complaining over the time. So with the previous law, we saw that some business communities like GUTA, the Traders Advocacy Group, especially, if our economy is mainly informal, and the informal sector, what the business people do is buy and sell. So they do not add really any value to the goods which they sell, It's just about you buy and then you bring into your businesses and then you go and sell. So what we witnessed under the previous law was that there was a lot of amendments to the previous law. And then there was a special dispensation for mainly the traders, which is the GUTA, the Food and Beverages Association, Traders Advocacy Group, and mainly small, medium enterprises within our informal sector. And then there was a flat rate system for them to pay. Now, with the original law, the rate of tax, according to Section 3 of the law, used to be 15%. The VAT started, if you could recall, 1995. And then, it came to 2013 when there was a total harmonization of the revenue administration in itself. So the history of VAT in Ghana predates back to 1995. And then we are today. So the rate used to be 15. Now, with the current law, we saw that, there was compounding effect. The VAT do not only go isolation. So there are other levies that were attached to the VAT. And those levies are the GET Fund and then the NHIL levy. So previously we were having the 15%, but embedded in the 15% was the levies, which was the GET Fund and then NHI, which has always been the 2.5% that we used to calculate. So it was a straight tax, you charge and then you go. Now different regime came and then they amended the rate of tax again. So now there was a decoupling of the levies, which is the NHIL and then the GET Fund. So now VAT, which is the main VAT, was standing alone. GET Fund and then NHIL has been decoupled. So what happened was that there was a cascading effect. There was tax on tax, which automatically amounts to increase in price of goods and services, which we witnessed under inflation, because tax is a cost, it's a big cost, and it's a consumption tax. So once you consume, you pay. The end result is that consumers are going to buy the product at a higher price, different from the business price, because it is the businesses that they are supposed to charge the VAT and then add in on top of their cost. That is the business cost, which is the price they fix, and then sell it to the final consumer. So the decoupling effect of the levies witnessed a cascading effect of the effective rate of tax. So it moved from the 15% now with the levies, which is 2.5, adding the back gave us 20%. But now, according to the Value Added Tax Act, the previous one, which is Act 2013, you have to now add the levies before you charge the VAT. So you add the 5% back to the cost of the product or service before you charge the 15%. So the analysis was that the net effect will amount to somewhere 21.5%, increment. Now, people of the view that if you look at global competitiveness, our VAT was not competitive, because if you look at countries like UK, the effective rate of tax for their VAT is 20%, and it's a straight levy, which is operating under the standard rate. So why is it that Ghana, we are doing 21.5 effective rate of tax per the analysis I gave earlier on? That is adding back the levies of 5% before you charge the VAT. And let's not forget that in the period, COVID-19 also came in as what? 1%. So that one alone adding back gives us a levy of 6%. Then you add it to 15%, it brings you to the 21.5 that we are talking about. So it was a step in the right direction for the minister to actually look at Section 3 of the Act, which is the rate of tax, and make sure that they harmonize the rate, making it competitive so that everybody can comply with clarity and with certainty. We can compute for the VAT. Now, there is a mechanism for the way we, handle the VAT, that is, those who are supposed to charge and then how they pay. The mechanism simply is that we call it, the standard rate. Under the standard rate, it is two sides. So it is sales versus purchases. Businesses are supposed to charge VAT on their sales. And then on their sales, you have to make sure that when you are buying your input, which is your raw materials, that is also referred to as purchases, you are supposed to make sure that you buy your purchases from businesses or from your creditors or your suppliers who are also VAT registered, so that you can benefit what we call the output VAT. So it's very simple. If you are selling a product and your product is 1,000 cedis, that is your sales. We refer to us as output. Now, when you charge VAT of 20% or let's say 15% on it, it is your output VAT. So 15% on 1,000 will give you, let's say, 15 cedis. Now, you have to make sure that all your purchases that you are involved, you make sure you buy from people who are also registered for VAT, so that the law can allow you to claim your input. So let's say your purchases is also 800 cedis. The VAT you paid on your purchases, which is the 800 cedis, is also the same 15. At the end of the day, let's say you are getting somewhere like 10 cedis. So the net effect is that you take the 10 cedis and then take it from the 15 cedis, which is the VAT. Then the difference of the 5 cedi is what you are going to pay to the GRA or the tax authority. So you pay 5 cedi. You don't end up paying all the 15 that you charge, or maybe the 10 that you paid on your purchases. But what we've realized in the system is that businesses are not able to do those computations and calculations with the standard rate. So you see that,
Julius, exactly the point I wanted to come to, because some are saying that from this calculation, I was trying to follow along with the calculation, but then for the average trader, how many people will be able to do these calculations? And some critics have also described it as a complex one, and it might end up lead to some people unintentionally not paying the taxes. How can the GRA go about it? Because it is not as simple as you make it look.
Yes, it is definitely not as simple. I've been dealing with businesses and some of the taxpayers, and it's not easy for some of them. That is why the previous law, which is the Value Added Tax Act 2013 Act 870, gave a special dispensation to businesses in the retailers and then the wholesalers. And they came about with what we call the flat rate system. And that is where the businesses are talking about. I've seen Guta, that is members of Aboso Kind, and some traders talking about the fact that we are just buy and sell. We don't critically do any value addition when it comes to the VAT system. So a special dispensation was granted to them, which was a flat rate system. And under the flat rate system, the businesses were allowed to charge a flat tax of 3%. When COVID came, there was 1%, so it was 4%. So once they are selling and they know that, I'm selling 1,000, that is my sales price, I only charge 4% on it, and 4% will just give them like 40 cedi. They add it back and then they pay. It was very okay for them to be able to follow and then comply. But with the new law, what we realized was that the flat rate has been taken off, it has been repealed, and now the businesses are complaining. They are talking about the fact that we've not done anything. Why have you taken out something that we are comfortable with? Practice it for about 12 years now. Our people are okay, they can follow and then charge the invoice, and a special invoice was given to them for them to account for the taxes that they charge for and on behalf of government. But with the new law, everything has been taken away, and they are finding it difficult. Like I said, it makes it difficult for them to follow this output and input system that allows them to claim their input VAT, which is the VAT on the purchases that they buy. Most of them, like I said, do not add any value. They only import the parts, bring it to the country, add a small markup or margin to it, and sell it to the market.
But Julius,
so that is where we are with the current law.
But Julius, how should the GRA go about it? Because this goes beyond creating awareness or education. I remember this new regime was announced several weeks ago. I don't know from your end if you've seen any sensitization or serious work by the GRA, but then how should the GRA go about it? Because it looks like we have a big gap.
Yes, certainly we do. Having monitored the GRA and then the government, that is the finance ministry or the policy makers, what we've realized is that, Karen, when it comes to policies, for that matter, tax policies, it's a tripartite, relationship. So we have the taxpayer, we have the administrator, which is the Ghana Revenue Authority, and we have government, which is the policy maker. Most often than not, what we see is that most of the policies are only favoring the administrator and government, and they do not take into consideration the impact on the taxpayer. as well as the overall impact on the economy. So let's not forget that it's the taxpayer that is also going to contribute the money back to government. So anytime some of these policies are, especially with a major change in policy like this, sometimes the education drive is low. Like we've been discussing, before you even come up with this new system that is going to involve a lot of the taxpayers to understand. The problem is they don't really understand. There is no clarity for them as to how they are just business operating. They do not consume, the product or services. They are charging the tax for and on behalf of government. Why should we suffer the tax and then all?
So Julius, from what you're saying, you are in a way agreeing. Julius, so from what you're saying, you are in a way agreeing to the fact that this new regime is likely to cause an increase in prices, as Guta is warning.
Yes. So clearly what Guta is warning us or is admonishing government to do, because if Guta, somebody who used to charge a flat rate of 4% or let's say 3%, is now going to account for the VAT. That means they have to charge 15% and then 5% for the levy, making 20%.
Even
clearly
more.
it increases cost of goods and services right away. Now, before you explain the mechanism to them that they can claim their input, which is the purchases, but you would have caused some form of confusion in their minds already. So clearly, with this new system, on the side of the taxpayer, it is going to increase the cost for the taxpayer. That is the final consumers, and that is why the business community are alarmed, and they are really talking about government probably should reverse back to the flat rate system so that they can only pay a simple rate and then account for it and pay. That one they are comfortable. But now that you've increased their rate, which is the 4% or the 3% they used to pay to 20% currently, automatically their prices will go up. And when they sell to final consumers, it will also go up. And that will, the macroeconomic effect is that inflation is likely to also go up, even though government have done really well in bringing inflation to the barest medium. So this is currently what is happening in the system. But our recommendation, or is our fervent view, that perhaps government did all these things because of how the country, the economy have responded to, there were some tax abolition at the beginning of, the current regime. Some taxes went off. COVID-19, exactly. E-levy also went off. And, taxes currently is not doing well. So I can recall that the Minister of Finance went around having series of meetings with the Ghana Revenue Authority and then making sure that they would impress upon them to increase their targets, so whatever, and then make sure that they get more taxes to or from the country. So once you are targeting, we also support that we should be able to grow our taxes and get more taxes in the system, but it shouldn't come at a time where it's like we are pressing the neck of the taxpayer. The taxpayer can't breathe, and then the administrator, which is the GRA, is only looking at how they are going to meet their target and then account to government at the end of the year. If the taxpayer is not comfortable, if the taxpayer do not get the necessary sensitization that you talked earlier on, the workshops, the engagement, even before some of these major tax policies come on board, you should be able to be meeting them often before you bring the whole thing up for the general economy for us to discuss. We have done those meetings with them and they clearly understand before probably we pass it, the bill in parliament, and it goes for presidential assent and it becomes a law. So I agree with the traders, I agree with the business community. The current law, even though the government is targeting about increasing tax revenue, which has always been the case for us, because we need to advocate for government to be able to be making more money within the system so that we don't go borrow and then we increase our public debt. What we can do now is to make sure that the business community are also not being pressed too much, that once there's confusion in the system, they will evade the taxes, they will not comply. And then a lot of work will have to go in. The same GRA will have to increase their tax audit, they have to increase their collection drive and then their sensitization drive, which comes at a cost to government. And I believe that the case that the business community are building up is a good case. And then at the end of the day, we hope that they will be able to get a good hearing in order not to distort the already complicated tax structure we have in the system.
Julius, so we know that the GRA has also been listening to the concerns that Guta has raised, and we understand that a committee has even been created to sort of address this transition. What are some of the expectations that you'd have for this committee? You've spoken about education prior to the rollout of the regime. Well, that wasn't so good, but now that at least a committee has been set up to look at this transition, what are some of the expectations that you'd want to see, particularly on the ground in the markets, to help our traders understand this new regime?
Well, the law is a new law. Even most corporate institutions haven't really grasped the concept of the new law. People do not even have a copy in their system because it has to go through the necessary procedure. Assembly press will have to be publishing, and then now they have to sell it in the system for people to get a copy. So mainly at the meeting level, what they probably, the revenue authority should look at the plight of the business community. They should really listen to them because it's a win-win situation. They are charging the tax for you. You are not charging it directly. And they exist. Government also exists. The business community are not enjoying their money. It is rather they collect it from their customers and pay it back to you. That is the principle. So whatever they are saying, I believe it's a good case. The only simple expectation is that the authorities will just listen to them, and then they'll be able to move it further to the minister level. And then probably, I know it's a new law, if possible, with the mid-year, we can have maybe an amendment to that, section, which is the rate of tax, to include the business community, especially those who do not clearly or really add any value to some of their products. They don't have to go through, they are saying they don't want to go through the system of the standard rate and input and output. It's a whole cumbersome thing for them. They don't want to do that. But at the end of the day, the minister, GRA, will listen to them and then fashion out a very flexible rate. The GRA has been talking about modification of tax that everybody counts. We can modify something for them, and then at the end of the day, they comply for you, get your money. It's the money that you are looking for. So why do you want to bring something that will not inure to their benefit? And at the end of the day, increase price for them, and they will stay out of business. They will not be, price competitive. What happens in some of these instances in practice, what I have personally witnessed, is that those who take the pain to comply and ensure that they will do the right thing, they rather stay out of business, because customers will go to the market, and those who follow the law to the latter will see an increase in prices. The customers will not go and buy from them. Rather, they will go to those who have evaded, those who do not want to comply, because their rate or their prices will be lower. So these are some of the things that the business community would clearly state it into the face of the GRA, the administrators and government. They should consider some of these things. And at the end of the day, it's a win-win situation. Government wants the revenue, but you are taking the revenue through a vehicle, which is the business community. And you have to make sure that you create an enabling environment for them to comply for you. And finally, the final consumers will also contribute something back to government. So it is a symbiotic relationship. You enjoy from me, I also enjoy from you in the same vein. So the end expectation is that they should just listen to the business community and come out with something better that will all inure to the benefit of both parties. Like I said, it's a tripartite relationship.
Right.
The government is there, the administrator is there, and then the taxpayer is there. But it is that most often than not, when there is a policy, it is just that we are pressing the taxpayer. That practice should be a thing of the past. Rather, let us listen to the taxpayer, and then at the end of the day, they will support government in this revenue drive that the government is embarking on. So we hope that government will listen to the business community, because they form a chunk of companies, group of companies. This is also going to affect manufacturers, importers. Yeah. So now both AGI and then Guta, they are in the same hot soup. Previously, when there are tax policies like this, you realize that one is enjoying over the other.
But everybody is affected.
Everybody is affected. So I believe that they will join hands together to make sure that government will do something about it.
Right. Well, Julius, we'll go for a quick break here to catch up, Red. But when we return, we'll talk about other issues happening in the economy and also talk about the latest payment by the government. That's the 10 billion cedi interest obligation under the DDEP. I'll get your reactions on that. But if you're joining us, you're still watching Bullet Business here on Bullet TV. We'll go for a break. And when we return, we have more for you. Don't go away.
At Entrance University of Health Sciences, we are shaping the future of medicine and dentistry in Ghana and beyond. Our world-class medical school equips future doctors with cutting-edge knowledge, advanced simulation labs, and hands-on clinical practice, preparing them to lead with confidence and compassion. In our dental school, students master modern dental technology and patient care in state-of-the-art facilities, learning to create healthy smiles that transform lives. With expert faculty, global research opportunities, and a commitment to excellence, Entrance University produces healthcare leaders ready to serve their communities and the world.
I chose Entrance University. You should too.
Entrance University of Health Sciences, where passion meets precision and tomorrow's doctors and dentists are made today. Enroll now and enjoy scholarship discounts on your school fees.
The show was a jar or bar anyone conquer dim.
The groom is sick.
What?
Malaria.
Malaria. Lufat. Lufat.
Indeed, woman malaria and kawan to them. Lufat, a malaria drop a cup.
And now you may kiss.
Entrance Pharmaceuticals and Research Center. And I Lufat. Lufat, a two malaria symptom.
Test for malaria before treatment. This advert is FDA approved.
And you're better. Kawanum na fufuo sika and top lot. Nini onya sika didi na uwa ufumu ayedu. Na emom udidi no e ma wura mfisa bebo ojapade ho ban. O cars, what dine, o factory machines. Ade bia o sika pudu ohiem de my priority insurance for insure no mo fama ho. And say you 32 branches all over the country. So ga kope to wale gatanga komase and crying. Asamanka say don't go krom techimai why aflao sehi takwa ampo sababi awono branch ni bi ni wa fa phone no na ko app store na download priority insurance app no jumadi bia be so di bia obetimi ade adi didi e be didi na so be bo ejapade ho ban we akoko hips.
Call us on 0553019060 or visit our website on priorityinsuranceghana.net. Priority Insurance, we are on your side.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Plumber new fro.
Plumber.
Hello plumber.
Hello baby. What's your name? Hello.
Oh, I don't know. Honey, Strobin.
Strobin has essential oils to relieve you from that sore and discomforting throat. Soothe that throat and speak soundly with Strobin lozenges.
Kase.
Hello.
Plumber.
Plumber.
Where far back? Why?
Why any plumber?
Somje. Apostle Masio.
Strobin, clear your throat. This advert is FDA approved. This product is marketed and distributed by Tobinco Pharmaceuticals Limited.
welcome back from the break. If you're just joining us, this is Bullet Business here on Bullet TV, and we're bringing you analysis on recent happenings in the world of business. And today we're talking about the new VAT regime, the value-added tax regime. And my guest, Julius Jima, has been breaking down the old flat VAT rate system and the new one, which some trader unions have kicked against, calling it complex. But then till date, or now the GRA, the Revenue Authority, has instituted a committee to see the smooth transition from the previous regime to the current one. We're going to move the discussion a bit away from taxation and talk about other matters in our economy. Julius, I want to get your reaction to some latest information that came today. I'm talking about the government's payment of 10 billion cedis in terms of interest obligations under the DDEP. What signal does this give about Ghana's fiscal strength and also investor confidence?
Actually, Karen, this is a good news for the entire country. Like you said, we are now moving from taxation to maybe our debt in its entirety. So we all know that we went through some kind of debt restructuring exercise some 2 years ago or some 3 years ago, and we all saw what happened in the country. Monies that was lended to government was not able to pay back, and for that matter, government was not able to honor its contractual obligations to Ghanaian people. We know that government have been raising capital from the domestic market as well as the external bonds market. So domestically, these were monies that government collected from people in the country who have given their monies, their pensions, and their savings to government to do some work, so that at the end of the contract period, you pay me my principal and a little interest as a bondholder. But our economy went through some turbulence. It went through some external shocks. It went through some domestic, inherent problems with what we've been talking about over the years. Budget deficit, higher expenditure, government not able to control the expenditure or manage the expenditure well. So at the end of the day, it has to affect government fiscal policy, and overall we witness the debt exchange. So fast forward to where we are now, the economy traveled in 2025, and we realized that there has been some significant improvements in the macroeconomic environment. Growth rate is relatively, okay. Inflation is currently doing well now. Our, gross international reserves balances have been increasing. So there has been some liquidity in the system. Government have been getting some money, and mainly from the support of our gold initiatives. And then also the ability to go through that painstaking exercise we all went through. I mean, it's not easy. We know the impact that happened to our people. And so if today government is announcing that they are fulfilling all those obligations and paying some 10 billion, Ghana cedis to these bondholders, we are all happy about the news. It's encouraging. It is going to boost investor confidence. It's going to both local investors and the external, investors as well. It is going to increase our credit ratings, both on the international market and also the domestic market. Government wants to go back to the domestic market and raise some form of bonds again. So once you want to go and raise capital on the domestic market, you should be able to demonstrate that those that are taking their money, or those that you have already taken their money, you are paying back. And the ability is demonstrating some form of increase in cash flows or cash inflows. That means government cash inflows is growing, and therefore is made to pay back. So it is a good news for all of us. We want to encourage that government will continually be that prudent and disciplined that we have always been advocating for when it comes to the management of our public finances, because that is the only way that you can get the money and tighten up the public purse. You don't loosen up too much the public purse, so that most monies will go down the drain, either through procurement or either through corruption. Once you've been able to protect it, it means that you keep the money, you keep the chest safe, and then the money will grow. You get some to fulfill your obligations that you owe to the people. So it is really a major boost for the capital market and as well as the overall financial market we have in the country. This means that most of the banks and most of the financial institutions that were having their monies locked up with government will be happy, will be smiling, because they can now go back and negotiate with their customers or with their clients, those who that they government purchase the bonds from, or they sold the bonds to government on behalf of these customers. By now they will be smiling, and this is just going to amount to a withdrawal for some of them, because some of them are pensioners, and these are the monies that they rely on to buy their old age medicines, and then enjoy their pension peacefully. So this is a good news. We pray and hope that government will continue, especially the finance minister will be, that discipline that we've seen from his part, and being prudent with the public finances to make sure that there is money, and then we are paying all this debt back to our people. So we are all happy about the news. We hope that it will continue, and then once we get clarity with our fiscal policies, we can all contribute back to taxes for government. Government gets the money and then use it to develop the country for us.
I want us to end with a conversation that everybody is always eager to ask an economist about. I'm talking about living conditions and how Ghanaians are still crying that it is not reflected in our pockets. We know that headline inflation has dropped. We're hovering around 3.8%. The numbers are doing well. Our city has been stable for some time now, but Ghanaians still can feel it in their pockets. I don't know about you, but would you say there is a time where we need to now look at having structural reforms to ensure that we start feeling the impact?
Certainly, Karen. I'm also not feeling. Let's ask you, also not feeling in your pockets. What I have said some time ago is that if it will not be out of place for government to have some price control regulatory board. We are operating, or we are under an open market. So therefore, government cannot force people to reduce prices drastically. We have also discussed the fact that if you are going to see a major reduction of goods and services in the country to reflect the living conditions we have in the country, then the exercise government, underwent in 2025 will have to continue this year. So a period of, let's say, 2 years before, because what has happened is that we are in a new normal. In the times of, increasing prices of goods and services, that is the hyperinflation, all business components, individuals and the business community, they also adjusted their prices to reflect the new normal. And the new normal is currently what is happening. But prices have been relatively where it is. I used to make this example that where I used to buy my bread in my area, as 2021, it used to be 5 cedis, the same butter bread that I enjoy. But between 2021 and 2022, 2023, it escalated to 20 cedis to 25 cedis. So the small size is 20 cedis, the big size is 25 cedis. The price remained stable, same 20 cedis, 25 cedis for the whole 2025. And there wasn't any increment in the price, so it's been stable. So if I use my scenario for the bread, that means if I want to measure inflation will even be zero for that period, which is 2025, because that I enjoy 2025, but still we cannot come back to where it used to be in 2021, because even in 2021 inflation rate was still 7%. Currently, inflation is 3.8, but still, the price of bread has still remained 25 cedis as I speak, even as I yesterday I won whatever. So, what we need to do is that the finance minister will have to intervene, and this is a flexible intervention that the minister have to do.
Not a hardcore one.
Set up a price review control board, so that periodically or quarterly in the system, they can begin to engage the business community to do to see some of the government policies that they are running, especially with achievement and gains in the macroeconomic sector. And then the business community, they tell attitude. Once you continue to tell them, they begin to adjust their prices, and then they work downwards. And you have to continue to continue on the side that you maintain the other variables, which is the indicators, because we know that.
Okay, so I think Julius has made a fair point there. So you might not be really feeling it so much, but then he's also said that the government can look at sort of introducing a flexible price control mechanism. Julius, Jim, I hope you're back, but unfortunately that's all that time will allow us, but we're very grateful for your time here with us. If you're just joining, Julius has been speaking about the new VAT regime and how the government must ensure that the transition from the flat rate to this new regime will be a smooth one to ensure that our traders are able to comply and pay their taxes. But we are not done with Bullet Business Course. We have a new segment called the Entrepreneur's Corner, and in today's segment we'll tell you the story of Ariane Sylvie Panu, who after months of waiting on the government for a formal job decided to take a bold step and start her own skincare brand. Now this is the story of Sylvie, and she is the CEO of her shea butter brand Aries Collection.
My name is Ariane Sylvie Panu, a young entrepreneur in Accra that manufactures natural skincare. When we say natural, it's not organic. We are talking about natural products where we work with shea butter, mango butter, vitamin E, coconut oil, even more different kind of oils that we do. We have body butters. We also manufacture body oils. We have lip balms. We manufacture black soap as well. And all this for the benefit of your skin. We know that there are people out there that the common product do not work for them. And then that's when we come in. With my personal experience dealing with skin issues, this natural product has been what has helped me. And I'm so happy today that we have been able to set up this business to also help other people in Ghana and outside Ghana to treat their skin issue in a more natural way. The business name is Collection of Aries, but I mostly go by the name Aries. I was having a lot of skin issues, so bad that I can't wear things that can expose my chest and then my arm. And the product I was using, I had to be asking my father to be shipping that particular product for me. So that means if it is finished or it's about to finish, I have to call before I will get it. So one day it got finished, and then my next batch has not arrived yet. And we were living in a compound, and then there was this northern lady that was in there and dashed my mother's shea butter. So first of all, the shea butter smelled really nice and looked clean, unlike something that I've been noticing, because anytime you hear shea butter, it doesn't smell well and the texture is all over the place. So it looks clean. I'm like, okay, why don't I just try it and see, because I can't use lotion or anything. Let me try the shea butter just for a little while. Even if it goes bad, my product will come in and then to repair it. I have an IT background and I was working in a tech company right now. So I was literally just playing with the product. And by the time I realized I have like 5 different products just sitting there. So I would do it and I would just share it to people. I was not selling it. And funny enough, this product found its way to Burkina Faso. And the lady called me. It's like, my child had rashes and she used your product and it worked. Do you sell it? I said, no, I don't sell it. So then I'm like, wow, so this product can actually clear rashes, like not only attend to my skin alone. So I'm like, okay. So then I'm like, I called this guy, please, can you do a label for me? Then they did a label. Then I started like putting it there, not necessarily advertising it, but now when people ask for it, I was able to supply it. Before I started my tech company, tech job, I went to learn how to do makeup. I went to learn how to sew back in school. Yes. So like everything that I see that is practical, I love putting myself into it. I didn't wait for somebody to put food on my table. So if you're out there, I know it is hard, but you'll be surprised that that little thing that you showed interest in is something you are going to live on forever. It's something that you are going to use to build a legacy. It's something that somebody somewhere else really needs. So let's not take for granted, even if it is chewing gum you are selling, let's not take that for granted. You are going to meet people through that are going to elevate you later on And then you yourself, you need to do something so that when you meet the right people, you are ready to go to the next step. So let's not just fold our hand and wait. Like the way they keep saying, wait for the government to do something. You also yourself, you have to show interest in doing it so that when they meet you, you are ready to take whatever they are investing in you and make it work. 2 years later on, I'm like, no, let me put a little bit of seriousness in this. So then I have to get a proper designer to redesign our labels that you can currently see behind me. I have to now sit down and say that, okay, so we have cocoa butter, we have mango butter, we have shea butter, we have all this oil. We already have 5 different products. How can we create it to like target the market better so that people can know that, yes, we actually have a product that is made in Ghana that can work for you? You know, the skincare business is a very heavy market. And for you to find your feet in there, that means your product needs to really stand out. For a product to stand out, you need the money. I spoke about the designer earlier. Obviously, I have to pay him for the design. That's left aside. When you design, I have to print it out. The container that we use, the raw material that we are sourcing. Sometimes some of the ingredients are seasonal. They come and then they go. You can also say you are stocking for a long time. How are you going to keep it? So it takes a lot of self-encouragement, a lot of encouragement from the customers, and a lot of encouragement from people that are around you, that are supporting you. Because when you see how much you have invested, not only you, but people are also invested in you, you can't give up. And then, yes, no business can survive without money. We are trying to break the barrier out there, but with the strength that we have, we can't do it alone. Partnership and sponsorship sometimes is what keep on going. Kind of bring us to that stage where now you are on top of the hill and everybody can see that, okay, who is there? What is she saying? But if you are down and you are just shouting in the crowd, sometimes you might not reach the right audience. So yes, we are always ready for partnership. We are always ready for sponsorship. We are always ready for any help that will give us strength to bring whatever the vision to life, to make it, to accomplish it, and also impact more lives out there. The way forward for us, well, we said earlier, there is no way to give up now. We have impacted too many lives so far to leave them hanging on. We are looking forward to expand. We are looking forward to not do product we think fits one particular person, but fits a whole group of people. We are looking forward to change the mentality of shea butter when it goes out there. So lately, there have been a wave of like, and I've been so happy about it because why are people out there valuing what we have more than we ourselves, what we have in here? If you pick 10 Ghanaian people right now, ask them how many of them use shea butter. Your mind will be blown at the answers that you get. But shea butter exportation alone, the kind of money is bringing into this country, we ask what are the white people using it for? So we want to break that mentality, not only send it out there. My target market has actually been the Ghanaian market. Not like I have to focus on sending it out there, no. It's the Ghanaian market. Let's try this product. If it's not good, you can call us. Just come and have a look at what we have. We have samples that they can even try and see how different some of our products are different from what is out there. So yes, we are looking for expansion. We are looking forward to break the barrier in that mentality when it comes to shea butter. We are looking forward to keep growing our customer base. We are looking forward not to leave. You know, sometimes when you are attending to some people are down there, they are not even targeted. Those are also something that we are doing. To the extent that now we even do customized products. You can see some on the table over there where you can tell me what you need in your products, what works for you. Then we work around it and then we make it happen to you. Not like we are targeting one whole market and we are leaving the other one. That's the kind of expansion, a kind of dream that we actually have for the Ghanaian markets. And then possibly, yes, outside as well.
And that's it for Bullet Business today. We appreciate your company. Remember, you can still get a playback of today's show on Facebook as Bullet TV Ghana, as well as YouTube Bullet TV Ghana. So until we come your screens again, same time next week, my name is Karen Antwi. Thank you very much, and do enjoy the rest of our programming.